7 books I thought were going to be epic, just terrible. Terrible failures. Every book that I've launched, it costs between $30,000 and $50,000 to advertise it enough. My best-selling book that has made the most money, done in 28 days. You can make money in books. Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, you're gonna fail a lot. You might waste a lot of money, but if you don't quit, you absolutely can make money. Today I'm gonna be talking about my business of publishing books, and most of my books are in the art realm. So if you Google me, you'll probably find me, Joseph Stevenson. So this is kind of a screenshot of one of my books. I mostly do children's books and mostly in the art realm. So how to draw, how to paint, calligraphy. If it's in any kind of art medium, I have about 70 books out under different pen names. There's an important thing to know is every book that is currently being sold has what's called a sales ranking. And the sales ranking is important because it's recalculated every single day of the year, and it's based on how many units you sell. So if I sell 100 books in one day and a competing book, or even a non-competing book, a completely different genre of a book sells 102, their sales ranking will be lower than mine. And it sounds funny, but essentially you want to be number 1 versus number 100. So if I sell 100, my sales ranking might be 3,000. If someone else sells 105, their sales ranking might be 2,900 or something like that. So I show that because I couldn't find the actual picture, but a couple of years ago, this was one of the best. So it hit number 17, which was 17 in the world. And I remember I was really proud because that was when Barack Obama's book came out, and I was outselling him by like 1,000 copies a day. So I felt like I had arrived. I was like, sweet. There's basically 8 steps. If you know nothing about writing, nothing about writing a book, getting it out there, here's how you got to do it. So first is your concept. Second, research. This part's optional, but I'll tell you why I prefer it. You're drafting your cover, self-publish time after that, advertise, get reviews. If you have no sales, start all the way over again. That's probably it's like tied in terms of research, in my opinion, on what's most important. And then if you have sales, seek an agent. I'll tell you about that part. First is the concept, which kind of makes sense. Like, what are you going to write about? What interests you? And just like like with our marketing company, we have a lot of influencers that we work with. And I always tell them, you have to focus on something that actually motivates you. And this is the hardest part for everybody because let's say you're into hairdressing, nails, like that's your passion. That's something you're into. But you notice that on Instagram, to blow up, you have to be kind of crazy. You have to do all the trendy dances. You have to, you can't just have regular colored hair. It's got to be purple and pink, but it's got to look good because otherwise you're going to look trashy. And there's all these other things. That's probably not your motivation. That's just, I want to be successful. And there's nothing wrong with following a trend or following a market to be successful. But if you do that from the beginning, if that's not what motivates you, you're just going to burn out. And I mean that, you're going to burn out. I don't care how motivated you are, how much drive you have. If you don't actually care about the thing that you're going to create, you're not going to be able to last through the whole process. Research is optional. This kind of is going to sound a little bit opposite of what I just said, but hear me out. If nobody's buying the thing that you're interested in, there's a high probability, if nobody's already selling a book in what you're interested in, there's a high probability that people aren't even looking for it. So if, for instance, you decided, hey, I want to write a book, but I want to write it on mourning doves in southern Utah. If there's no other books out there about mourning doves, you've got the chance that either nobody's looking for it, or you have a chance that a lot of people are looking for it, but nobody's filled that market. But if you do research, so right now if you go on Amazon and you just search bestsellers, this was yesterday, I believe it's number 3. So it's number 3 in the world. So selling a lot right now. So you can go on and you can kind of do a search, check out bestsellers, and I just picked this one because it has everything that I would be looking for. So essentially, it's number 3 in the world. If I click on the activity books, I can see that out of activity books, there's multiple different books in that genre. So if my passion was just drawing coloring books, it's not really. I have a few out. I found I didn't really like it, but if that was my thing, I want to create coloring books, I would go on and I would just say, are coloring books even selling? Obviously they are. So check, that's good. Can I create something at least as good as this? Yeah, I think so. Do I have an interesting idea that would make it show up? So if you know that there's a market for it, then you have such a much better chance of succeeding. I've written a lot of books that were just purely passion projects and sold like 20. And it was all to like my mom and a couple of friends. So it was great, right? And I spent a ton of time on them, had them edited, but in the end, they just sold nothing because nobody cared. And so remember, this is optional. If you're just doing this for fun, then don't research. Just write what you want to write. But if you do want to make a business out of it, if you want to be profitable, go do some searching and figure out if there's anything remotely close to what you're thinking. Most people don't agree with me on this, but I always say, well, how many books have you sold? How many have I sold? I usually don't like to play that card, but it's really true. Don't take 10 years on your draft. I can't even tell you, probably 1,000 authors or people who want to be authors that have come to me and they're like, I want to publish a book. I'm like, great. Have you written it yet? I'm on like my 3rd draft. I'm like, why are you on your 3rd draft? Well, it's got to be perfect. No, it doesn't. Worst case scenario, let's say you put out your rough draft, not even your manuscript, just your rough draft as the book. Worst case, someone's going to read it and they're going to be like, this is the worst grammar I've ever had to suffer through in my life. Where did this person go to college? You're going to get a 1-star review. So what? By the time you get that 1-star review, you'll probably have sold 50 copies if it's a good idea. And guess what? We live in a wonderful age where you can take your book down as quickly as you put it up. So put it out there. If it starts selling, take it down, get it cleaned up, and then republish it. People who want to be authors, who are always rewriting their books out of their entire lifetime, how many books do you think they end up getting out? What's the average number? Just throw out, you don't have to raise your hand.
0.
0? No, it's a little higher than 0, but I actually like it. It's like 3. So like from the age of like 25 up into their 60s, like 3 books. That's terrible. Because the reality is, I'll tell you how many it took for me to actually sell some copies. But if you only get 3 out there, they could be the most polished, beautiful book ever, and they're going to be sitting on your significant other or your kids' bookshelves, and they're the only person who will have ever read it, because chances are you will never even get to the point of selling them. So the cover is about 10 times more important than what's inside the book. People will absolutely judge a book by its cover. I'm sure everybody here watches YouTube, and at this point, most people are pretty familiar with the fact that if your thumbnail is not amazing, people are just not going to watch your video. So if you notice nowadays, you can't just have, I created a 1,000-foot water slide and there's just a picture of a slide. No one's going to click on it. You have to have this huge water slide and somebody like flying off and there's spikes on the side and there's just all this craziness. Clickbait, right? Books are no different. And so if your cover is not good, you're just not going to sell. So I brought up in kind of the best-selling category, money and finances. And when you're designing your cover, you can hire a graphic designer, that's fine. If you have a little bit of knowledge with Photoshop, Canva, you could probably come up with something pretty good on your own. And all you need to do is just look and see what's common between all of these. So I look and I say, okay, I've got 2 of these that have a person on the cover. I'd probably say 4 that are mostly text. So number 1, 3, 4, and 8 are mostly text. This one I take out because it's an old enough book that it's going to sell based on name alone. And so I can look at all this and I can say, all right, probably a cover that I want to do if I'm doing money and finance. Initial reaction is going to be bright color with text only. That's it. Maybe a vector image of like whatever this is that looks like darts, or over here there's a brain. So maybe I'll put one little image. That's it. Don't get caught up in the idea that you're only successful if you are published traditionally. I've sold, if I could go back, and I've told my agent this, I would not have signed with Random House. I make about a third of what I used to off of my bestsellers. So, and it's great. I walk into Walmart and I see my books, but all it is vanity and ego. Like at this point, I would gladly trade the ability to walk in a store and see my books for that money. I tell everybody, start with self-publishing. There's a ton of platforms. So you're published, you go through KDP, it takes like 2 days. They'll approve your book if you haven't ripped anybody's off, if it's all original. At that point, most people come to me and they think that's all I have to do, and why have I not sold any books? I worked 5 years on this book and I uploaded it. It's amazing. It's going to change people's lives, but nobody's buying it. And the reality is Amazon doesn't really care if you sell any books at all. They care about what's going to naturally sell through all the channels they have set up. So you have to advertise it. So I'm going to just be real with you. Every book that I've launched, it costs between $30,000 and $50,000 to advertise it enough to get the kind of sales that you're looking for to be successful. So I put the number one thing, which is test, then scale, which is if you come up with, say, a few $1,000s that you can put into it, you don't just go into every channel available and every marketplace available and put ads by your book. Let's say, like for my book, which the one that sold the best was the anime one, which is kind of funny because I'm really into art and teaching kids, but I don't know anything about anime. So when I go to conventions and stuff, people are like, "What's your favorite character?" And I'm like, I don't know any characters. Like every character in the book is original, so I don't. Anyway, that's just a funny quirk. But if I was going to test with that, I would run an ad on Amazon that is for people who just search how to draw anime books or something like that. There's a pretty high chance that if people are searching for that and that's what my book is giving them, that they might buy it. Stay away from book clubs. There's a million sites out there that are like, we have 100,000 readers, pay us $50 and we're going to tell them all to buy your book and it's going to be great. Yet every one of them is a waste of money. Don't do it. And then just give away a ton of free copies for reviews. So I mailed copies to homeschool groups. I kind of figured out who my audience was, and I just mailed out copies by the hundreds and said, hey, if you'll just go leave me a review, free copy. And it's great because they'll tell their friends, and people, when you give people something for free, they naturally feel obligated. Even when you tell them, no, you don't owe me, it's okay. They can't help but feel like they owe you something. So if you just say, hey, tell your friends, I've sold more books by giving away free books than any other way. By just giving away one free book, I'll sometimes sell 3 off of that one person because they just feel like, well, I got to give Joseph something. Like, I can't just take this. That's terrible. So that's probably like one of your best ways to advertise. And that works with any business, by the way. So we still do that with our marketing company. We'll give away free websites. And people are like, well, I can't just take this. And we're like, well, if you want, you can buy this marketing package. And then they're like, well, yeah, I'll pay that. And then they pay 5 times what we would have charged for the website because they feel like they owe us for the site. So it's, we're like, no, you don't have to go crazy. You're like, no, I want to go crazy. So I hit it on that. Be shameless. Ask your mom, ask your friends, ask your significant others, people who bought the book. If you don't have reviews, you're just not going to sell. You guys have probably seen this on Amazon. I pulled it off that money book. But if they're going to leave a review on Amazon, ask them to take a picture, take a video. It helps your book rank higher. Ask them to write out a longer review. And the longer the review, and if it is actually a good one, when people vote and they say, that was actually a helpful review, that will move to the top. So kind of a fun little hack is if you have friends who are writing reviews, like have them vote for each other. And what's interesting is on my books, it's still like my childhood friends who are the top reviewed people because they were the first ones to review it. And they had like 5 people that found it helpful. And then over time, when my books got up to 1,000 or 10,000 reviews, those other people were like, yeah, that is a pretty good review. So then they just all of a sudden have these Amazon accounts that have huge review health, which is really funny. So, all right, this is the worst part. Know when to quit. So if your book doesn't have any sales, kill it and start over. So you guys, the number was 3. How many, give me just guesses because this will be fun. How many books do you think I had to write before I sold just a few hundred copies? 7. Now, that's 7 books I spent at least $10,000 a piece on marketing before I quit. It's 7 books I thought were going to be epic, and it's 7 books that took months to write. Not years, months, because so one was on marketing. I was like, this will be great. I'm going to teach people how to market their book. The other ones were coloring books. I had gotten into kind of the coloring book thing, thinking this will do really, really well. What were the other ones on? I'm drawing a blank. It's been a minute. I have a tendency when something doesn't work, I completely don't think about it again. I just move on. I'll put it in my journal so I can go back. Every time I have a new idea, I'll go back and make sure I haven't tried that before, because I have actually been like, oh, I did try that. I forgot about that. How did I forget about that? But they just failed miserably. And when I say failed, like sold 50 copies total over multiple months, $10,000 spent, just terrible. Terrible failures. Yeah.
Do you know why they failed?
Yeah, so they failed because I thought that they were great ideas. I thought they were really well done. And in the end, nobody wanted them. So they got in front of a lot of people and just nobody cared enough to say, I'll give you $10 for that. Or even some of them was like $5 for that. That's the worst part, is when you are in love with something that you've created and the market tells you, it's not that good.
Have you seen, like, with your drawing books, like, it affect people?
Yeah, that was like an unexpected kind of amazing feeling. So there's been multiple moments where I would be, in an unexpected place, like an airport or a store, and someone would come up to me with my book and they're like, hey, can you sign this book? And I'm like, sign your book? Like, yeah, of course, but it's in my mind, it's not really a book you'd sign. It just wasn't that to me. But yeah, there's been a lot of moments where either parents reached out, school groups, or just random. I've spoken at elementary schools and things like that, and just not realizing that people actually loved what I created. And it really, honestly, it was worth it enough for that. I just didn't realize what that was going to feel like. So kind of like this, when I was asked to talk, we were talking right before this, and I guess like my closing words that I'll leave you guys with is, I wish when I was your age, when I was in my 20s, that someone had just been honest with me and just said, it's really, really hard, guys, but you'll get a lot out of it if you just go for it. Like, just do it. Like, you really can. And please just ignore all the negativity out there. Ignore the economy. You don't need to worry about that right now. Half the crap is clickbait. You don't need it. Raptor grew like 500% last year when everybody was like, the economy's tanking. I'm like, really? I'm not seeing it. So I wish someone had just been honest with me and just said, yeah, you can make money in books. Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, you're going to fail a lot. You might waste a lot of money, but if you don't quit, you absolutely can make money at it. So I wish somebody had just shared with me kind of the details of things, right? And so if you have any kind of inkling, try it. Worst case scenario, yeah, you lose a little bit, but you got some time to kind of make it back up.